dropped. But we do have a caller for Bob, and so let's get Bob up here first. Bob, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, now let's see if we can't get your caller, and I hope this doesn't drop, so let's get the caller up as well.
Okay.
Good morning to you, Mr. Caller. It's not going to work. By golly. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so the caller is not, so we'll ask that caller to call back, and I'll just have to take his question off the air and relay it to you, if we can do that. Okay, so 479-1160 is open for that purpose. So Mr. Pollock, brought to us this morning by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Good morning, Bob. As we think about things, we got this report from the State Agriculture Department that the spotted lanternfly is getting more prevalent here in western Pennsylvania, Allegheny County especially. Haven't heard that it is any more prevalent here in Indiana County, but it's certainly something people need to look for because we're in the quarantine area.
That's correct. And I have not seen or heard any, additional outbreaks here in Indiana County. So that's a good thing. But those announcements don't go through me, so it could be happening, and I don't know it yet either.
At what stage are spotted lanternflies right now? Are they at the colorful stage yet?
Yeah, they should be in colorful stages at this point, in varying sizes, and as well as some varying colorations. So they'll be interesting to look at. How about that? Are you still there?
Yeah, Bob, we're still here. Hang on.
Okay.
I'm getting the question from the caller here. He says
right.
There's a very large beetle, and caller, what was the description? Bronze in color, has wings, 6 legs. So we're talking about a bronze-colored, 6-legged winged beetle. And what's it doing? Very large antenna on it. And pinchers on the front. Getting a picture of that, Bob?
Yeah, I'm getting a picture of that. There's a large a large number of different types of beetles. A lot of them are not harmful. They won't attack crops or anything. And there's a lot of ground beetles, but they can be very large in size. They can have pretty large pinchers on the front of them that make them look very menacing. But they're most likely not going to be a problem. They're feeding on either other insects or breaking down organic material, and are going to be harmless to us.
So this big Bubba, he found it in his basement on its back, and he put it in a jar, and he said it survived for 2 days just in a jar with no oxygen. Of course, they're not going to take up a whole lot of oxygen, but there you go. So it hasn't done anything harmful yet, but he's wondering if it's going to grow into a bear or a shark or...
It should be okay. Release it back outside. It somehow wandered its way in, and
ought to be good.
And yes, they can survive for a while, even if you put them in a jar.
Yeah,
they can last for days and sometimes longer. Amazingly, they're still getting a little bit of ability to function there and work on stored food reserves as well.
I have noticed a bee out at our house that is feeding on the flower pot, and it's the same bee comes back every day. It looks like a bumblebee, but its body is sectioned off like a wasp, and it's very large. Do we get crossbreeding of insects in such a way that I would have something like that out there? Or do I have a claim to fame now that I can have a scientifically named bee after me?
No, you'll have to collect that and have it identified and run the DNA on it and see how what its lineage is.
See, I'm thinking this particular bee is not going to be really amenable to that, and might object to my attempt to collect it, and then might kill me.
Well, then maybe you better leave it alone.
Okay. I guess my fame will have to wait for another day. Okay, let's get out into the garden. Let's look at the tomato plants, Bob. We've had some tomatoes come on. Some of them, as I told you last week, have come on a little bit rotten, and you said last week that probably that was related to when the darn thing was forming and what the weather conditions were at the time. Other tomatoes are looking really, really good. So we always get the questions about late blight, early blight, any blight, and what we should be doing about that right now.
Yeah, so this time of year, we've had a few what we call wetting periods. So that's essentially when the plant gets wet. So whether it's from dew or rain, when we get a little bit cooler nights, or cloudy days when moisture can hang around longer, that's when we start to see more disease develop. And we can get early blight, septorial leaf spot. There's bacterial leaf spots that will get on tomato, and those can occur whenever we get those conditions. So we're in the right temperature ranges. It's just when we add that period of moisture in, and that can just, overnight's enough. And then if you add in periods during the day, then that extends that to allow those organisms to function and make spots and marks, and for that disease to develop. So we always need to be looking for those. Still, there is no incidence of late blight pretty much up and down the East Coast. So that's the other thing that we look for this time of year is these storm fronts coming through. Are they going to bring the late blight in from other areas that are infected and then cause us problems? And at least for this week, for right now, that's not happening.
Do I recall correctly that last year you said that maybe we can spray anyway, just as a precaution?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And for these other diseases, for early blight, which tends to start on the bottom of the plant on the older leaves, because we get rain splashing, and that splashes up spores, and then it starts on the lower leaves. And, of course, we can prune some of those off. If they start to get spots on them, we can remove individual leaves, and that can help reduce the inoculum going forward, as one cultural practice. Mm-hmm. And then protecting the plants with fungicides is the other way we do that preventively, so that when that spore lands on that leaf or on the fruit, there's a protectant there around it, so that spore, when it starts to germinate, then it gets killed. So yeah, and most fungicides that we use are preventative. So we have to have them on the plant, protecting the plant, before the disease-causing organism attacks it. Once it attacks and starts to grow on the leaf or on the fruit, then it's too late for that particular infection. Mm-hmm. So yes, a 7 to 10 day schedule roughly is about normal for this time of year to protect those plants from getting any of those diseases. Is
that particularly important now, since we've had a wetter week this week?
Yes. Yeah, so again, it's those wetting periods. When we go through dry spells and things stay dry for the most part, then we see a lot less diseases develop. Now, they still might start, but they will be not nearly as severe as when we have more regular dampness on the plant.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, then there you go. Well, we're going to close the segment off here this morning with just last week we had 4 or 5 callers. Today we had one with a beetle problem. And we've been out in the garden as well. Bob, thanks so much.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. AM 1160.